Welcome, everybody. My name's Joe Carr. I'm the Rutherford County Mayor, and I am joined by Murfreesboro City Mayor Shane McFarland. I've got a few opening remarks, and then I'm going to turn it over to Shane, and then Shane's going to toss it back to me, and then if anybody has any questions, Shane, you and I will do the best to answer them, right?
That's right. Hopefully there won't be any.
Exactly. Before I get started, I want to recognize a couple of people, well, several people. First of all, we have several county commissioners here today, and I want to recognize them. We got Commissioner Pettis Reed and Joshua James and Romel McMurray, Commissioner Alan McAdoo. Where else do I have commissioners? I'm getting to them I'm getting to this in just a second. I'm saving them for last. Oh, well, I'm saving these two for last. So other than Mike Cush and Anthony Johnson, who else is here? I don't see anybody. But in any event, I specifically wanted to recognize past Public Works Chairman Mike Cush and the current Public Works Chairman Anthony Johnson for being here, because obviously this particular committee has been involved in this process or this issue for a very, very long time. And I want you to know, as the mayor, I recognize your leadership and appreciate what you've done for this county. I also want, before I continue, I want to recognize our solid waste director, Bishop Wagner, who does an absolutely outstanding job for the county, and I couldn't ask for a better solid waste director. So thank you, Bishop, for your leadership in that regard. As many of you know, Rutherford County is now the fourth largest county in the state, surpassing Hamilton County with a population of 388,909 as of January 1, 2025. We surpassed Hamilton County. With this growth comes a greater responsibility for us to fulfill our statutory, that is our legal requirement, to take care of our solid waste needs in an environmentally safe and friendly way. That responsibility comes with the clear understanding that it is no longer in the best interest of the county to receive trash from outside the county for permanent waste disposal within Rutherford County. 30 years of trash coming from Davidson County and surrounding counties into Rutherford County is long enough. It is time for Davidson County to deal with their problem of their solid waste in a responsible way within their own county borders, not in Rutherford County. With that said, Middle Point Landfill in the Walter Hill community is scheduled to close in the very near future. It is imperative that Rutherford County become solid waste independent, because when that closure occurs, we suspect within the next 2 to 3 years. In an effort to move toward this goal, Rutherford County and the city of Murfreesboro will enter into a process by which we will construct, hopefully, a memorandum of understanding or an MOU to address the county's long-term solid waste needs. Those solid waste needs of the counties are the same for Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, and Eagleville. This is a county-wide issue. It's not confined to the county, and it's not confined to Murfreesboro. We are joined at the hip in this regard. Indeed, if I may be so bold, Mayor McFarland, there's no daylight between the city and the county in this regard. To address the needs of this proposal for an MOU, Rutherford County will work diligently with Murfreesboro and the other municipalities in Rutherford County to determine how we can partner together in the successful operation of the new Rutherford County Transfer Station for the benefit of all Rutherford County. So we are building, as you know, a $20 million facility at the old Rutherford County landfill off Landfill Road. That's a $20 million investment. That's an investment thanks to the County Commission and the Public Works Department we initiated over a year ago. We expect the operation of that transportation to take place on or about between May 1 and July 1 of this year. So we're rapidly approaching the operational date. Number two, we will together determine, Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, how we can as a community better service the health and safety of our community through an aggressive campaign to divert solid waste from landfills. Depositing our solid waste, regardless of where it is an unacceptable future for a town, a county this size. We have to do better. In order for us to do better, we have to establish solid waste independence. Number three, we want, the county and the city want to produce a working relationship with the state of Tennessee and all the municipalities within the county to determine the best future use of the old Rutherford County landfill. This effort will be to fulfill a commitment of a long-term, independent, sustainable solution without the need for any solid waste into our county being received from outside the county. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor McFarland, and then I'll have a few parting words.
It's my pleasure to be here today. I do want to recognize part of our team. We have Kurt Wade, Austin Maxwell, and Jamie Averwater. I'll say this to Murfreesboro residents: you could not find a better group to serve you. And as Mayor Carr had said about there being no daylight on where we are with solid waste in Murfreesboro, I think there are things I can say about the council that we may disagree on, but the landfill and solid waste is not one of them. So thank you all for your steadfast work. It's my honor to be here with you today with our county partners, with our commissioners, and also our city council. Having a healthy relationship with our county partners is vital, and I cannot remember a time when you look at where we are with the county administration, with our county commission, planning departments, emergency service providers, where all of the agencies we have in our county are working as one. Over the last several years, the city of Murfreesboro has had three objectives when it comes to solid waste management. First, we have sought to address ongoing environmental issues at the Middle Point landfill. These issues, if not addressed, will continue to have a significant impact on the residents of Rutherford County and Murfreesboro, and more broadly, the residents that rely on the resources that are around the landfill. These environmental issues include release of noxious odor gases from the landfill into the surrounding community, the discharge of toxic landfill leachate into the city sewer system, as well as into the surface water around the East Fork of the Stones River. This is not a Murfreesboro issue. It's an issue that affects most people who live in Rutherford County, including specifically those who live in Smyrna, Laverne, and the officials who represent those people should be concerned. Republic and BFI did not correct these issues on their own, and so in 2022, the city filed a lawsuit in federal district court alleging, among other things, public nuisance claims and violations of the Clean Air and Clean Water Acts against Middle Point's owners and operators, BFI Waste Systems of Tennessee, and its parent corporation, Republic Service. Secondly, the city has appropriately asked the question, what's next? When the day comes that Middle Point landfill is closed, capped, and moved into post-closure, the city council and the city team have sought to balance three main considerations: environmental sustainability, which includes the impact these decisions have on our residents and the overall community, and the vital resources that we all rely on in Rutherford County, including our drinking water. Social and public welfare is the second, which includes things like health and safety, economic development, and public perception. Thirdly, financial viability, which asks the question about revenue, costs, and the long-term reliability of these options. We have studied these extensively and have concluded that an expansion of Middle Point landfill would be disastrous for our residents, our children, and our grandchildren. Continuing the process of being Middle Tennessee's literal dumping ground, where roughly 70% of the trash that comes into Rutherford County is outside of our borders, may bring money into the county, but it's not beneficial to our residents' health, safety, and public welfare. We should not expand the landfill to allow 30 more years of dumping even closer to our neighborhoods and our drinking water source. Finally, considering these facts, the city has actively opposed efforts by BFI and Republic to expand Middle Point landfill. This includes efforts by the city to intervene in a lawsuit brought by BFI against the Central Tennessee Solid Waste Regional Planning Board, who turned down BFI's request because it was inconsistent with the board's overall solid waste within the region plan. In September of 2023, the Chancery Court for Davidson County upheld that decision. BFI has appealed that decision, and a ruling should come anytime soon. Please note that this board had a unanimous decision, and it was made up of Rutherford County representatives and City of Murfreesboro representatives. I would also like to again address the city's federal lawsuit against BFI and Republic Services. Our experts have been very clear. Middle Point is causing air pollution and water pollution and threatening our drinking water. The city has worked diligently over the past year to craft a settlement agreement that addresses these environmental issues stemming from the defendant's mismanagement of Middle Point landfill. The city feels now that it is time for us to focus on what's next. That is why we're here today. I believe the first step in this next process is to engage in formally partnership with Rutherford County in evaluating what would be the next best step. We have worked together for years, but now it is time to formalize this commitment with our county mayor and our county commission and our city council. Effective governing requires thoughtful leadership void of politics. Unfortunately, while the city, Mayor Carr, and many of Rutherford County government, the Central Tennessee Solid Waste Board, multiple attorneys, community advocates, and others have been fighting to protect the residents of Rutherford County and Murfreesboro, there are other representatives who've been trying to work on the goal of extending and expanding Middle Point landfill. This has to do with one goal, and one goal only: money. I ask, how much is enough? How much money is enough? I would submit to you, if the commission and council members who approved Middle Point landfill over 30 years ago had that same decision, I would like to think that we wouldn't do that. So I'm asking, what is our legacy? And I think that's why we're here today, to propose a very open, transparent process for our residents and our community partners. We are proposing public hearings, community meetings, and garnering community and resident input the way that government should work. Let me be clear. We are not proposing backdoor deals and private meetings. Everything should be done in the sunshine, and everything should be done in the open. What is being formed will be a study group comprised of Rutherford County elected officials and City of Murfreesboro elected officials. Ultimately, the future of solid waste independence in our community is closer than it has ever been for the residents of Rutherford County. I know everyone shares the goal of what is best for our county. The time is now. Partnering with our county commission and county leaders is what's best for the residents of Murfreesboro, for Smyrna, for Laverne, Eagleville, and the many unincorporated residents we have in our county. We have smart and we have thoughtful leaders in our community and in our governments. Now's the time to bring everyone together, and that's exactly what the city of Murfreesboro and the city council is proposing to do. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. So I want to wrap up before we take questions, and I want to address my comments specifically to the county commission, and it's just brief. But to the county commissioners today who are in attendance and those who will be watching at home, do not let anyone dissuade you from our goals of the need for solid waste independence. That is the goal. That has to be the goal. If we are going to divert solid waste into landfills, we have to get control of the solid waste here in Rutherford County. So whenever the county and the city come together to work on these shared problems, our goals are to obtain a better outcome while reducing expenses to our citizens and fostering that. So I leave you with this question. The question for us as community leaders, the city council, the county commission, and the mayors, is who would you rather see address the health and the safety concerns of our citizens? A multi-billion-dollar corporation headquartered in Arizona? Or would you rather see the people who live here, who work here, who educate their children here, and who grow here? That is the question that is before us. Who do you want to lead this county forward? Thank you very much. In a minute, McFarland and I will take questions. If there are any. Good, we're out of here.
Time is now. With Middle Point having, I think, at least 4 years left of operation, why exactly do you think the time is now?
So there is a dispute about the timing of the closure of Middle Point. It tends to change on a rather frequent basis. One day it may be 2 years, the next day it may be 7 years. It depends on who you ask and on what day you ask. The one thing we do know is that, according to our experts, it's rapidly coming to a closure point. But we can't wait till it closes before we provide this solid waste independent solution to the residents of Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, Eagleville, and all of Rutherford County. So if we wait, we quite honestly put ourselves in a very disadvantaged situation.
And you talked about kind of like the first steps in creating this independence for the county when it comes to trash. Are there any specifics about what you guys are looking for to do
So to be very clear, Rutherford County has already taken that very first and critical step towards solid waste independence, and that is the $20 million investment into a transfer station. What that does is that gives Rutherford County, and by extension, city of Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, and Eagleville, that control and that authority. That is paramount if we're going to invest in recycling, composting, and the other technologies that divert from landfills. Unless we do that, we really do not have the leverage necessary to be solving the problem of not putting so much in our landfills. And I think Bishop was telling me, to be quite honest, Tennessee is not particularly a stronghold of diverting waste from landfills. I think the diversion rate is like 8%. We can do so much better than 8 and 10%, ladies and gentlemen, on whether it's recycling or composting or those kind of things.
So that's a great question. The city of Murfreesboro, we're really the only municipality inside Rutherford County that offers curbside pickup. We pick up about 60,000 cans a week and have one of the absolute best teams who does that. With that being said, as the county has built their transfer station on the north side of town, the city council has made a priority that we're looking at a transfer station on the south side of town where we've already realigned Butler Drive and we already own almost 30 acres to be able to build that new facility. And, you know, we've talked about for years great ways that the county and the city can partner together. But now that they're under construction and nearing completion with their transfer station, we're in the process of starting our transfer station. What I could see and why I think the time's now, for example, it may not make sense to pick up trash in Christiana on the south side of town and drive that all the way to the north side of town. It may make sense to use the city's transfer station. Likewise, if we're picking trash up on the north side of town, I think it makes sense for us to be able to take our trash to the transfer station on the north side of town that's the county's. So there are some operational efficiencies that I don't think yet that we've been able to take advantage of. This group would start that process. And I do think in the part where, as you see when we talk about different issues, it really needs to be where the elected officials that the people have picked to say, we need you to solve this issue. And that needs to be done collaboratively and very open. So that way individuals like the RNA and people who are involved and invested in our community can have a say as well. So I think that's why the time is now.
Oh, yes, Susan.
What do you see as the goals of this study group?
So the study group is going to be composed of councilmen and commissioners, the mayors, and we'll have some probably ex officios. We haven't made, I want to make something really clear. Let me back up a step. This group has not been formed yet. It has yet to be formed, and certainly no MOU. There's been some rumors that an MOU has already been agreed to. No such thing has occurred. If those in attendance will go back and reread the media release, it talks about a proposed discussion for undertaking a memorandum of understanding. And that's what this is. This is we're letting you know that the city and the county want to come together to discuss how to best utilize the Rutherford County Transfer Station and the facilitation of a southern transfer station, how we can facilitate more composting and recycling, and then what do we do as a community, Rutherford County and all its municipalities, with the asset we have in the old Rutherford County landfill. That study group will come together, hopefully, with an MOU that both the city and the county will adopt in the appropriate legislative manner. Does that answer your question, Susan?
Do you have a time frame?
We're going to move as quickly as we can, but we're not going to rush the process because we want to make it thorough. I mean, I don't think we've done this before, have we, Shane?
No, and Susan, I would say this. We had a meeting the other night, and the council, and we were talking about a lot of different things, and I didn't sleep, and so at 2 o'clock in the morning, it hit me. I'm like, we're talking about where we are in the present. We're talking about protecting our water source. We're talking about, I believe a good community partner, we should be able to walk out of the back of our houses on a Saturday morning to have a cup of coffee and not smell the landfill. I think that's fair. And so we're talking about where we are now, but then, people elect us to lead. And the council, the commission, we're all within our different bodies, that the commission has a lot more bodies that we're elected to lead. And it dawned on me that we've not put something in place with our county partners to be able to get moving on leading to what's next. And I think that's where this started. But I got a call from a couple of commissioners that were talking about that, here goes Joe running off again, and that was not the case. I'm the one who called Joe and said, Joe, we need to get this moving. And, you know, I think what needs to happen, and I say this coming from an elected official, egos need to get out of the way, and we need to do what's best for our residents. And I have full belief that our city council, our county commission, and those who want to work together, this will be a great example for us to be able to do that. We're going to show the residents how we're going to work together. So I would hope it will be something really soon.
So the formation of the group is going to happen, the study group's going to happen rather immediately, because again, we're not going to let the grass grow underneath our feet. So I would expect, Shane, you and I in the next week or two will make another announcement about the formation of the study group, who's on the study group, and how often they're going to meet, and what the goalposts are or the benchmarks are for getting across the goal line. So that's going to be coming very, very quickly. Yes, Scott?
If the governments are unable to recycle and compost all of the solid waste, what are you going to do with the rest of the trash? And my second part of that question, are the governments looking at building a public landfill on the county's property right next to Middle Point Landfill?
So the first thing, you cannot divert 100%. That's an unrealistic goal, but we absolutely can do better than 8 and 10%. So let's start with what we can do. And I think Bishop had received a mandate from me 2 months ago that in the calendar year 2025, that was to be a priority. Now that we're moving from implementation of the transfer station, he has received a mandate from me, isn't that right, Bishop? To discover ways that we can recycle and compost more. So, but we will never be able to recycle and compost everything. Not with today's technology. So there will always have to be a place where we have to bury something. Currently, under our contract with Waste Management, Rutherford County, when it becomes operational for its transfer station, Waste Management will move Rutherford County trash to Marshall County. But we understand, ladies and gentlemen, that is a short-term solution. That is not a long-term solution. But we've got to have that short-term solution so we can build these technologies or discover these technologies to divert as much as we can.
Yeah, I would say this, Scott, and Councilman Averwater has been adamant about a recycling program, and we've talked about curbside recycling.
Amen.
There's many of us that pay a fee now for curbside recycling, and I was just responding to a constituent night before last. You know, the way it works right now with recycling inside the city of Murfreesboro, and even for that matter for the county, if we were to ask our residents inside the city to recycle and divert right now under our current agreement, the amount of trash that goes into the landfill, we're just extending the life for more outside trash to come into the landfill. So I think what has to happen is, as part of this process, recycling has to be at the forefront of what we're going to do in part of that diversion. Now, with that being said, and I talk routinely to the different mayors in this community, you know, the majority of the people who are getting curbside, well, really all the people who are in curbside in Smyrna and Laverne right now are paying an outside service to do that. So I think there are all of these things that we need to be able to discuss and finally talk about. Here are our next steps to be able to fix those. Curbside recycling is going to be one. Diversion is going to be one. And ultimately, it's not going to be a city of Murfreesboro idea. It's going to have to be an entire Rutherford County idea to make that work.
And the interesting thing about Mayor McFarland's last remark is that as a result of this media event, we've received really positive feedback from the other municipalities. They're going, we want to participate as well. And that's the kind of buy-in the whole county needs. It's not enough that Murfreesboro and Rutherford County do this. We need the buy-in of all the municipalities and the entire Rutherford County if we're going to make this work as effectively as we can. And it's quite honestly, it's pretty exciting. Yes, sir.
I think there might be, some curiosity when we're talking about, utilizing a landfill that, an older landfill, but a landfill no less. And so can you talk a little bit about, and you may have already done so, but can you talk a little bit about, why this may be an option that you go after, knowing that, we're kind of diverting or trying to get away from landfills?
Well, first of all, Rutherford County is trying to take control of its solid waste. As I said earlier, Rutherford County is a community of almost 400,000 people. We produce almost 500,000 tons of solid waste a year. Now, if Rutherford County, just as a business guy, we kind of look at this as like business. Well, if Rutherford County can get control of that 500,000 tons a year in solid waste, we literally take that off the table for the rest of Middle Tennessee, because there is a gross shortage of landfills, operational landfills in Middle Tennessee. Indeed, according to TDEC, there is no path forward over the next 7 years to open up a new landfill. So we have an existing capacity of airspace that's available. So if Rutherford County is not just a good partner to its own citizens, but the rest of Middle Tennessee can take that equation off the table for the rest of Middle Tennessee, it helps all of Tennessee. So what we're trying to do is, in an effort to move toward more recycling and more composting, we have got to get control of our situation here in Rutherford County. What that means is solid waste independence, levering the transfer station, the future station in the south of Murfreesboro, and maintaining control of our existing old Rutherford County landfill. Shane, did you want to add to that?
Levi, right? Yeah, Levi and I were out at the Middle Point landfill maybe a couple of years ago. I think overall what needs to happen, and this is just one person's opinion, the city council, we have become experts on landfills with what we've been dealing with the last 3 years. I even feel I have to really watch what I say, just because some of the things that we've got going on. But I think what needs to happen, what's good for Murfreesboro is good for the county, and what's good for the county is good for Murfreesboro. But the part that I continue to focus on, and I think this is something that as a county and as a city that we have to at some point say is an issue. We have one of the best water and sewer programs, and it's nationally recognized. I would like to think 35 or 40 years ago, when a landfill site was picked out, that probably they wouldn't put that next to some of one of the main drinking sources in Rutherford County. So I think anything that we look at doing has to take into account what the environmental factors will be for our community for the next many years, not just what the financial impact would be right now. The tough thing for us as elected officials is to tell people that, sometimes things cost more. And right now, we've got a solid waste program inside the city as far as tipping fees that we don't pay anything. That's not sustainable. No other community really has that. Again, I would go back and say, if we could go back 30 years, I don't think it's great for your community to be recognized as having a place called Mount Trashmore, or the people that are at our soccer facility that complain about a smell. So I think what we're saying is there's got to be better ways to do things, and I'm fully confident that the county commission, the city council, and our other municipalities can figure that out.
However, the overriding concern is the fact that Middle Point landfill receives in excess of 1 million tons of trash a year. 700,000 tons of that trash comes from outside the county. So it makes it extremely difficult, indeed impossible, for us to address our issue as long as we're shackled to the idea, the concept, the business plan of allowing somebody to bring their trash from outside the county to Rutherford County as a trash can. We have to do better. Yes, sir.
Does this lead to the independence? Does that lead to an eventual ending of relationships and closing of Middle Point? I think that's what a lot of people want.
Middle Point will close when it is full. That's the issue. And so the issue is it gets fuller and fuller every day and at an accelerated rate. Again, to the previous question, when does it close? That's up for debate depending on who you ask when you ask. But it is closing, and it's closing rapidly because it's a defined amount of airspace. It's not unlike if you have a 16-ounce glass. You can't put more than 16 ounces in a 16-ounce glass. And so this glass, this 16-ounce glass is getting full and will be full very soon. This community needs to be prepared for that. And that's what this is about, is getting prepared in an accelerated way.
But there's a big difference between 3 years and 7 to 10 years. I mean, that's such a moving target, and I think a lot of people are unsure.
I think that's true, but I don't think anybody who understands and has studied the problem believes that it's 7 years or even 5 years.
If
Yeah,
there,
one more question?
if there are, environmental concerns about Middle Point landfill where it is right now, and I'm asking the question because obviously we're talking about a landfill that's right next door to all of that. And so would adding more trash to that area compound the issue of
That is a great question. And Mayor McFarland, come on up. You and I are going to answer this one together. You know what? That is a fantastic question because it goes back to the last question I asked. Who is better suited to address the safety and health and environmental concerns of a community? A multi-billion-dollar corporation in Arizona or us? That's the question. And I think there absolutely needs to be incredible oversight that doesn't currently exist and hasn't existed for 30 years, which is where we are. And the amount of trash that comes into the county on a daily basis, 4,500, almost 5,000 tons a day in some cases. And so you have traffic, you have truck traffic, you have litter, you have leachate, you have violations, you have a number of issues. And so when there's a for-profit organization dealing with those, I understand the need to bring equity to your shareholders. I understand that. I've done a little of that myself. But as community leaders, when there are our kids and our grandkids that we're talking about, it's a totally different equation that we're working with. And I do believe this community is better suited to solving that problem than a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. Mayor?
Yeah, Levi, I think that's something the city council's been focused on really for the last 4 or 5 years when we've gone through multiple solid waste studies. It goes all the way back to the solid waste authority or solid waste action authority that was in place that Councilman Wade served on and I served on, that we went through studying the process. Ultimately, I think, the way things work, at some point we needed to really draw the line in the sand and say, okay, here's what's next. And that's really what today's about. I'm not sure, and I can only speak for me, I'm not sure that the city council, what we would say with any landfill expansion. But I do think that if we are going to have an expansion discussion, it really needs to be centered around Rutherford County. I was in a meeting with TDOT the other day, and I had posted this on my social media page. I passed 4 trucks that were, and this is at 10 o'clock in the morning, I passed 4 trucks on I-24 coming back with waste from other places, and that was just in an hour period that I was driving. So I think what we all are committed to saying is that there may be some challenges in the short run, but those challenges in the short run compared to what we're going to be dealing with, and I say this to be clear, whether Middle Point closes, which I think is the best thing for our community, we're going to be dealing with the ramifications of that landfill as a community long after I'm gone. My question would be, moving forward, do we want to double those issues that we're going to have to deal with 50 years from now? And I think that's what smart commissioners, smart council members, we are advised by very smart staff members who know what's going on. And so I think putting everyone together and doing that open and transparent will be the right way to go.
Thank you, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you.
Thank you very much.